Welcome to another deep dive. Our mission here is pretty clear. We take a whole stack of compelling sources, articles, research, our own notes, you name it, and we pull out the most vital nuggets. The really surprising facts, those aha moments that genuinely help you get informed without feeling totally overwhelmed. Think of it as your fast track to understanding. Today we're diving into something truly profound. Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. This isn't just a book you read. For so many people, it's like an invitation to a whole new way of seeing things, a real shift. And the big question we're exploring today is this. In this crazy world of constant mental chatter and, well, what feel like endless problems, how can we actually find lasting peace?
And clarity.
Exactly. And this deep dive, it isn't just about, summarizing a book. It's about grasping this radical shift in perspective Tolle talks about. He's basically offering a direct path to what he calls realizing yourself. It's a way to cut through some fundamental human challenges by recognizing what's already inside us. It's just often buried under all that mental noise,
Yeah.
Okay, let's start by unpacking Tolle's own story. Because it's quite remarkable, really, and it kind of sets the stage for everything else. Can you imagine living for, nearly 30 years in a state of almost constant crippling anxiety? And not just anxiety, but periods of suicidal depression mixed in. That was his reality.
Yeah, it sounds incredibly intense, debilitating.
Then, one night, he was just past his 29th birthday. He wakes up just gripped by this absolute dread. Worse than ever before. The whole world felt hostile, meaningless. But the worst part was his own existence. He just couldn't stand it. He kept thinking, I cannot live with myself any longer. And then, boom, this incredibly clear thought cuts right through the despair. It changed everything.
What was the thought?
He thought, am I one or two? If I cannot live with myself, there must be two of me. The I and the self that I cannot live with.
Wow, that's a moment of pure insight, isn't it? Right in the middle of all that suffering. And it was that specific question, that internal paradox, that just stopped his mind cold. The compulsive thinking just ceased. He described it like being pulled into a vortex of energy. He felt intense fear, his body was shaking. But then he heard this inner command, right in his chest: resist nothing. Simple, but absolute.
Resist nothing.
So what happened?
He just let go, fell into this void, but he realized it wasn't outside him. It was deep within. And in that surrender, the false self, the suffering self, built on all those thoughts, it just dissolved.
Incredible. And the aftermath, what was that like?
Well, that's maybe even more astonishing. He woke up later, heard a bird chirping, and he said it sounded like a precious diamond. The dawn light coming in felt like love itself. Meet and cry.
Wow.
He walked around his room, a place he knew so well, but suddenly saw it as if for the first time. Everything fresh, pristine.
Like being reborn. Exactly his words. Just born into this world. And this wasn't just a quick flash. He lived in this state of uninterrupted, deep peace and bliss for 5 months straight.
5 months. So that experience, that intense personal transformation, that's the root of the power of now.
Precisely. He realized that what he'd stumbled into, what he experienced, was what everybody was looking for. He understood that the intense suffering had actually forced his consciousness to withdraw its identification from that unhappy, fearful self, that mind-made identity.
So the suffering was actually the trigger.
In a way, yes. It forced the withdrawal, which then revealed his true nature as the ever-present I am, as he puts it. The book then really came about because people started coming up to him saying, I want what you have. How do I get it?
What was his answer?
Deceptively simple, really. He told them, you have it already, you just can't feel it because your mind is making too much noise.
That's the core of it, isn't it? The mind making too much noise.
That's the absolute bedrock of his teaching. And understanding that is where it all starts to open up.
So, after this incredible awakening, how does he actually guide us? Let's get into the core concepts. He starts with enlightenment. And his definition is refreshingly simple, maybe even radical.
Right. He just calls it the end of suffering.
No superhuman feats, no complex rituals.
Exactly. He stresses it's not some superhuman accomplishment for a chosen few. He says it's our natural state of felt oneness with being, a state of connection with something. Well, immeasurable, indestructible.
Okay, so let's unpack being. That's a term that can feel a bit abstract. What does he mean by it?
Yeah, it's crucial. He describes being as the eternal, ever-present one life that exists beyond all the different forms, things that are born and die. But it's not separate. It's deep within every form as its core essence, invisible, indestructible. And the key part is it's accessible to you right now as your own deepest self.
Accessible now?
But, and this is the catch, you can know it only when the mind is still.
So it's like the quiet foundation beneath everything.
That's a good way to put it. The awareness that animates everything, beneath all the mental activity.
Which brings up the question, why being instead of, say, God? Lots of people wonder that.
He addresses that directly. He feels the word God has become, unfortunately, empty of meaning through millennia of misuse. It often creates a mental image, right? Something or someone outside you, or worse, a belief to fight over.
Whereas being,
He says, is an open concept. You can't really form a mental image of it. And crucially, it's immediately accessible to you as the feeling of your own presence. It's experiential, not conceptual.
okay, so if being is accessible, what stops us? What's the greatest obstacle?
Simple, according to Tolle, identification with your mind. That's the root issue. It's when this identification causes thought to become compulsive, constant, unstoppable. He even points to Descartes, I think, therefore I am, as expressing the fundamental error, equating thinking with being, equating yourself with the stream of thoughts.
So the constant internal chatter.
That very noise, he argues, prevents you from finding that realm of inner stillness where you can actually feel being.
He even calls it a disease, doesn't he? The mind running rampant.
He does. He says the mind, unchecked, uses you. You don't use it anymore. Thinking becomes an addiction. You feel like you've lost the choice to just stop thinking.
And the result isn't happiness.
No. It might give a false sense of pleasure sometimes, but he says that pleasure invariably turns into pain. It really makes you pause and watch your own mind, doesn't it?
It really does. So what's the way out? What's the solution he offers?
The solution lies in creating gaps of no mind.
Gaps of no mind.
Yeah, moments when thought just subsides, even briefly. It creates a discontinuity in the mental stream, and that leads directly to feeling stillness and peace inside you.
But it's not like zoning out, right? Not a trance?
Absolutely not. He's very clear. This state is much more alert, more awake than in the mind-identified state. And interestingly, he suggests it actually raises the vibrational frequency of the energy field that animates the body.
Wow. Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we practice this?
He says the single most vital step is learning to disidentify from your mind, to stop believing you are your thoughts. He suggests something simple, almost playful. Try smiling at the voice in your head.
Smiling at it.
Yeah, as you would smile at the antics of a child. That act creates distance. It makes you the observer. Because, he assures us, your true sense of self does not depend on that voice.
Okay, that makes sense. Creating distance. Now, if our minds are creating all this noise, how does that connect to everyday stuff? Our worries, our problems?
Right, this is where it gets really practical. Tolle makes a vital distinction between clock time and psychological time.
Clock time and psychological time.
Clock time is just practical, planning appointments, learning from past experiences, setting future goals. That's necessary for life on Earth.
Right, making dinner, catching a bus.
Exactly. But psychological time, that's different. That's the mind's compulsive dwelling on the past and projecting into the future. It's that near constant internal narrative about what was or what might be. And the problem is, it reduces the present moment to a mere stepping stone to the future with no intrinsic value.
So the now just becomes a means to an end.
Precisely. And that, he says, is the root of suffering.
Which leads into this really challenging statement. All problems are illusions of the mind. It's a big one.
It is a big one. He explains that when your attention is fully here, fully in the now, a situation might need dealing with or accepting, sure. But it doesn't become a problem in the way the mind constructs it. The mind, he says, kind of unconsciously loves problems because they give you an identity of sorts.
An identity 3 problems. Wow. That forces you to really look at how you frame things.
Absolutely. And he constantly reinforces the power of the now. The present moment is all you ever have. That's his mantra. Nothing ever happened in the past, he points out. It happened in the now, that's gone.
And the future.
It will happen in the now. It hasn't arrived yet. So the present moment, this moment, is the only point of access into the timeless and formless realm of being.
It's the gateway.
It's the only gateway there is.
So how do we access it more? She talked about portals into the now, right?
Yes, powerful examples, like life-threatening emergencies. In those moments, the mind often just stops, doesn't it? And something deeper, infinitely more powerful takes over.
That's sudden clarity in crisis.
Exactly. Another portal he mentions is simply observing nature. Really seeing it. To do that, you have to put down for a moment your personal baggage of problems, your mental commentary.
Just be with the tree or the sky.
Right. And he also points to classic Zen questions designed to pull you right into the present. Things like, What at this moment is lacking?
Or that really direct one. If not now, when?
Exactly. They cut through the mind's tendencies.
And he said being present actually changes how we perceive things.
Fundamentally, when you perceive without the screen of mind, as he calls it, you don't just see the surface. You can feel the essence of that tree, its inner spirit. You sense the sacredness and mystery of life all around. The mind, he says, cannot know the tree. It can only know facts about the tree.
Information versus direct knowing.
Precisely. Presence allows for a deeper, more direct knowing that goes beyond intellect.
Okay, so the present moment is key. Accessing the now. But how do we anchor ourselves in it? Especially when the mind keeps pulling us away.
This is where another crucial aspect comes in, inhabiting your body.
Inhabiting the body. What does he mean by that exactly? It sounds physical.
Well, yes and no. When Tolle talks about inhabiting the body, he's clarifying he means the invisible inner body. Think of it as the animating presence within you, the energy field that gives life to the physical body.
So not just the flesh and bone.
No, it's the aliveness within the flesh and bone. And he stresses that transformation happens through the body, not by denying it or trying to escape it.
That's quite different from some older spiritual ideas, isn't it? The body is an obstacle.
Very different. He points out that historically, many traditions involve denying or even punishing the body, but he flatly states, no one has ever become enlightened through denying or fighting the body. For him, returning to the body, feeling that inner aliveness, is where the real work happens.
Okay, so what are the benefits of this body awareness? Why is it so important?
The benefits are profound, he says. Firstly, it anchors you in the now. It's hard to be lost in thought when you're feeling the energy in your hands, for example. It stops you from getting lost in the external world or completely in your mind.
It grounds you.
Exactly. And he also claims it strengthens the immune system, both the physical one and what he calls the psychic immune system.
Psychic immune system.
Yeah, like protection from negative energy fields or collective negativity. Basically, raising your own vibrational frequency through presence makes you less susceptible. It builds inner resilience.
Interesting. So how do we actually do it? How do we access this inner body awareness?
He offers simple techniques. Focusing on your breathing is a very direct way in. Just feeling the breath move through the body. Or you can scan your body part by part, feeling the subtle energy within your hands, your feet, your arms.
What if you feel discomfort, like agitation or anxiety?
Good question. If strong emotions or discomfort arise, he suggests giving your attention to feeling the emotion first. But, and this is key without thinking about it, don't analyze it, don't judge it. Just feel the raw sensation of the emotion in the body, except it's there.
Just feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you mentioned prerequisites earlier. He talks about forgiveness being essential.
Yes, absolutely essential before you can truly inhabit the body peacefully. Forgiveness, in Tolle's sense, means to relinquish your grievance and so to let go of grief. It's about offering no resistance to life, to what is. He actually says non-forgiveness is the very nature of the mind. The mind loves to hold on to grudges.
It definitely can.
So he says only you can truly forgive the real you, the presence behind the mind, by accessing that stillness where judgments dissolve.
Okay, forgiveness clears the way.
Yeah.
And then there's surrender. That sounds similar, but maybe different.
It's closely related. Surrender is the simple but profound wisdom of yielding to, rather than opposing the flow of life. It means inner acceptance of what is, unconditionally. Not resignation, but a deep okayness with the present moment, whatever it holds.
Acceptance of what is.
Yes. And when you embody this surrender, he says, a totally different energy, a different quality flows into whatever you do. Your actions then become less about striving and forcing and more like a joyful celebration of life energy.
That sounds appealing, but it raises a question. What about people who seem trapped in suffering? Does Tolle think they choose it?
That's a common misconception he addresses. He's very clear. Nobody chooses dysfunction, conflict, pain. Nobody chooses insanity. These things happen, he explains, because there's not enough presence in you to dissolve the past. The accumulated pain, the conditioning.
So it's unconscious.
Deeply unconscious. True choice begins, he says, the moment you disidentify from the mind and its conditioned patterns. Often, people who seem stuck in suffering are unconsciously recreating a pattern learned in the past. Why? Because the mind always adheres to the known, even if the known is painful. It's familiar territory.
The known, even if painful. That's a powerful insight into human behavior. Okay, We've covered these deep internal shifts. How does all this play out in our relationships? That's often where the rubber meets the road, isn't it?
Absolutely. And Toll doesn't mince words here. He says most relationships, unless rooted in presence, are deeply flawed and ultimately dysfunctional. Ouch.
Wow, why?
Because they often become addictions. We unconsciously look for salvation in another person, trying to fill our own sense of lack, fear, or incompleteness through them.
Yeah.
But ultimately, he argues, relationships don't cause pain. They just bring out the pain and unhappiness that is already in you.
They act like a mirror, reflecting our own inner state.
Exactly. A very powerful, often painful mirror.
That sounds potentially pessimistic. Is there an upside?
There is. He reframes it brilliantly. Relationships as spiritual practice. Their purpose, he says, is not here to make you happy or fulfilled in the conventional sense.
Okay. So what is their purpose?
Their deeper purpose is to make you conscious.
To wake you up.
Precisely. And how do you practice this? By holding the knowing of that moment, particularly of your inner state, being aware of your own reactions, and crucially, by choosing not reacting to the unconscious behavior you see in others. Don't feed the drama.
By not reacting, you break the cycle.
Yes, you bring in the light, as he puts it. You introduce presence into the dynamic and help dissolve the negativity, both yours and theirs.
That's a very different way of looking at relationship challenges. He also talks about differences between men and women here.
He does touch on that, suggesting tendencies, not rigid rules, of course. He proposes that for many men, the primary obstacle to enlightenment tends to be the overactive thinking mind. Whereas for many women, it's often the pain body, the accumulated emotional pain, which can include the collective female pain body from centuries of suffering.
The collective pain body. That's a significant concept.
It is. And the goal for women in this view is to become present enough to transmute the pain body, so it no longer blocks access to their true self. It's a path toward deep inner freedom.
Okay. So moving beyond individual relationships, what about just life? Happiness, unhappiness, good times, bad times.
This leads to looking beyond happiness and unhappiness. Tolle argues that true inner peace isn't dependent on external conditions being good.
It doesn't depend on things going your way.
Not fundamentally. In fact, he suggests that what we label as bad challenges, losses, difficulties can often be our greatest teacher. These experiences can force us into depth, humility, and compassion in a way that easy times might not. From that higher perspective of presence, conditions just are. They aren't inherently positive or negative. It's our mind's judgment that labels them.
And related to this is the idea of impermanence, right? Nothing lasts.
Absolutely central. All that arises passes away. Everything is transient. He explains that clinging to forms, relationships, possessions, status, even our physical bodies is a guaranteed recipe for suffering. Why? Because nothing lasts in this dimension.
So trying to hold on to things is futile.
It is. The real joy of being, he says, is different. It's uncaused. It arises from within you, from your connection to presence. It's a joy that external circumstances can't give you, and therefore can't take away.
Which brings us full circle, almost back to the beginning, but on a larger scale. He connects all this individual awakening to a global need.
Yes, he speaks about a potential quantum leap in consciousness for humanity. He actually suggests it's our only chance of survival as a race, that this profound inner transformation isn't just a nice-to-have, it's an evolutionary necessity.
That's a big statement. Survival depends on waking up.
That's his perspective. And linking this to our purpose, he says, your primary task is not to seek salvation through creating a better world.
Wait, not creating a better world, that sounds wrong.
But listen to the rest. But to awaken out of identification with form. Then, he says, from that awakened state, you begin to make a real contribution toward bringing about a better world.
So awakening comes first, then effective action.
Exactly. You influence others not just by doing, but by being, through the peace that you emanate. It's about teaching through being, which can be far more powerful than just words or actions born from ego.
Wow. What a journey through these ideas from the power of now. We've really covered how profound change starts inside, doesn't it? By reclaiming that presence from the mind, from the illusion of time.
Absolutely. And it's crucial to remember this transformation Tolle describes, it's not just theory. It's presented as a lived reality, something accessible through these practices we've touched on. Body awareness, surrender, forgiveness, just being present. It's about fundamentally shifting your entire relationship with this very moment, right here, right now.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe we can leave our listeners with one of Tolle's own provocative thoughts to mull over. He says, the mind cannot forgive. It loves its grievances. Only you can forgive by accessing the now. And then he asks, How much more pain do you need before you can make that choice?
Hmm. That's powerful. And maybe another one to sit with. If, as he suggests, time and pain are inseparable, what does it really mean to die to the past every moment? What would it take to live a life truly free of suffering right here, right now? It's not just a question to think about, is it? It's an invitation to experience life differently.